Entering in Africa, navigating size, potential, and the strategic landscape for new gaming entrants and investors.
It's always good to have familiar faces. You guys are back again. We loved your insights in the last panel, so it's great to have you guys back. We have Daniel Robus as our moderator, the CRO of Stay Contactable, Solomon Godwin, from Africa Booming Games, Cameron Green, the founder of F9 Media Group, and Imran Bukhari, the partner of WA Africa. Gentlemen, take it away.
Sure. Welcome back. You have to put up with me for another 25 minutes. If you have any questions afterwards for our panelists, please don't be shy. None of them are rock stars. They'd love to engage with you. I'm just taking that from what you said earlier. Cameron and Imran are joining us, and I think you've heard from the big S, the wisdom, the King Solomon. He is joining us again. Thank you very much for being here. Before we kick off, Imran, do you support Liverpool or not? Because if the answer is wrong, leave the stage. No, I'm joking. Imran, thank you for joining us. My first question is going to be for you. Why is this such an important topic for you that you volunteered your time this morning?
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks.
Tell them who you are and what do you do.
Yeah, so I'm Imran Bukhari, and we represent WA Africa, which is a recently formed new joint venture, which we think will bring a lot of right set of solutions for the market. And we are focusing on getting a number of international brands and operators who are looking to enter into Africa, looking for the right technology partners, but at the same time, right partners who have experience in the African continent for a long time. And I think that's the kind of a key that I see. A lot of international operators are looking closely at which other markets they can go into. And there's a Latin and Africa, the two most upcoming, I would say, happening market. And that simply puts it back to us in terms of the people who are providing solutions for the continent. I think that's one of the reasons why we think very strongly that next coming decade will be Africa, and we are going to see a lot more growth overall. And I think that's our focus. That's the reason why I thought it's worth coming and talking about how the international partners that we work with, kind of questions they have or kind of requirements they ask, and how we are catering those needs.
Cameron, you live in Cape Town. You didn't always live in Cape Town. You've been around a little bit. Your time here, your title wouldn't have existed 10 years ago. What's enabled that you can actually make a living and make a very good one in this industry now?
So I started off in this industry about 24 years ago.
Are you in?
And it was in a little office up in Norwood, and that evolved into some of the biggest tier one companies that you know today. But what has happened is the growth of mobile, the growth of mobile payments has enabled us to take entertainment to the market. So I think that's the reason why I'm here. And the ability to fall in love with Africa, travel throughout Africa, understand the nuances and the psychology of that player, to then deliver a product for investors that work.
Amazing. Solomon, you on for your second round. This is a slightly different topic, but it's almost a continuation from our discussion earlier. What makes you excited enough to spend another 30 minutes here? Why do you think it's important for us as audience members to be listening to this right now?
I think it's my belief in the continent and the potentials that is in the continent. Africa is still like a newborn baby that has not even started crawling in terms of the size, in terms of potential for growth and expansion. So the opportunities are there, but Africa should be respected in terms of the kind of platform that is built for the continent. Africa should be acknowledged in terms of the kind of professionals. I mean, we talked about training and education. So there are a whole lot of A, B, C to Z that investors, professionals should really take into consideration if they must remain in this continent long term. Yeah.
Amazing. Cameron, you were nodding a little bit there. Do you think that when people are looking into our continent, that they are seeing the change that is going to be required, or do they just see a dollar sign?
Well, you're not going to do it as a charity, so you have to see the growth and you have to see the possibility and opportunities that exist. And I think when you get a confluence of all those factors coming together, whether it is the financial, the technology, the marketing bits, that then becomes to excite the investors, the new entrants into the market. And when we look at new growth opportunities in established businesses, we then go to what we have missed, the pieces of the puzzle that was always forgotten. And it's no longer a market that's a low value punt, just high volume. There's so much more nuances to it. Wow. And so much more to get out of it. So we spoke earlier about how do we cross-pollinate our sports punting product to the casino, and it doesn't work. That's not the way to go about it. It's a different psyche, it's a different personality, it's a different reason for being involved on your platform. And I think once we get there and we understand what that value is of each player and why they've come to engage with your brand, with your voice that you've brought to them, then I think then people would get the full benefit of coming to Africa.
So respecting your players first prize and first starting point. Imran, I've got a question for you, and I'm sure the gents are going to answer in this. Do you invest in Africa? Do you invest in a country in Africa? Or do you invest in a company in Africa? What is your take on that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, actually. It goes back to, I think, what Solomon just said. And as a business, I think we personally believed in that fact that if you genuinely try to help customer, it doesn't matter. If you genuinely try, people accept and they appreciate that and they like it. The question is when people try to come and say, I have this and how I can sell this, irrespective of whoever my audience is, that's where you have a problem. Just to give an example, when we started early, like 7 years ago almost, and one of the big challenge was the data. And a lot of international operators who are looking, if your website is like 3 megabyte, 4 megabyte, not even loading, you cannot have a retention, you cannot have your bounce rate is 90% or something. So we started with a very simple proposition. Let's make it lightweight. It should be less than 500 kilobyte. It should load fast. It should allow punter to place the bet. It should not try to do real-time odds updates and all, and then your bet fails. So you try to just help customer. And the same thing, I think one of the questions you asked in the last panel was how the gap between the casino games and the sports. Like it goes back again the same proposition that we are not trying to help customer understand that how they can have that transition. We are not trying to build things which help them that. We are saying we have this, take this one or this one. That's not how it works. So like we started focusing on, okay, how we're going to develop games specifically which are casino games but in the sports theme. They have to resonate. If it's a football, like a crash game, very useful example, most popular thing right now in the market. You can have one more rocket flying, but that's not helping. So we started building a football-focused crash game with a theme that before the opposition team score the goal, you cash out. Connect with your user, give them something to be with. It's a small thing. I mean, I'll take a little bit longer time on just from that fact because I think it's a very important point here. We did a kind of a survey from users. Initially, we created a game where your team scored the goal and you cash out before that. And we got a feedback that, oh, if my team is winning and I'm scoring the goal, and actually I'm losing because I didn't cash out, it's a negative feeling. So you have to really understand, and once you do that, people appreciate that, operators appreciate that because they come to you for a solution. They are looking for a technology partner or a market expert who understand. And I think that's the key. If you do that, things work.
Sure. I love that answer. Do you want to carry on there, Cameron? Do you want to carry on with Imran saying, are we investing in Africa, in a country in Africa, or in a company? What's your take on that? What do you advise?
So it's not just investing in Africa or into a country. It's understanding what you have to invest. If you've got money to invest, you'll spend that money. If you've got technology to invest, you'll invest that technology. If you've got marketing, so you need to understand what you've come to bring to the market, have your own voice, have your own brand, be strong in what you offer, and be appropriate for the territory that you're in.
Amazing.
I am sure there's a few of us that understand that you give away goats for certain promotions, you give away generators for other promotions, and each of those have a specific nuance for that region, for a specific event that happens.
You've given away goats. Dude, that's the first time I've heard of someone giving away goats. Solomon, would you like a goat if you're going to answer the next question? What could you do with a goat for me? No, I'm joking. Solomon, if we were looking at where we are now and we want to attract investors, what can African businesses, what can our businesses do better to attract the right technology investor or the right money investor right now? What can a small company in Kenya do? I'm joking about Kenya. What can a small company do that can attract a big investor?
I think it begins with not just what the company can do, but the greater challenge here is the regulatory environment. And the consequences of that is that most tier 3, tier 2 operators, their books are not clean, not all. Their books are not clean. And no proper investor, not a gambler investor, no proper business investor will want to put his money into books that are not clean. So African operators should clean up their books. I mean, just be straight, just be direct, and be open. Because there are consequences for unclean books. The environment is extremely unstable. So if any government wants to hit you, I think he begins by opening your books. And for any wise investor, I would not recommend that you put your money into books that are not clean.
Sure. I love that answer. I love that. And I think that the immature gamers that are getting into this now don't understand that the cash in your bank is not the money that your company has. So a course on finance is really recommended. I'm going to ask you the same question. How can we be more attractive for the dollar investor that wants to come here? Our small operators that are starting, or even our medium ones that want to expand across the continent?
So we've seen significant strides from all operator sides to ensure regulation that works across different operator sizes. So when you do go into a territory that you know there's an even playing field, there's an opportunity to be successful, and then obviously when you go through that mind shift of, and I think he touched on clean books, as soon as you go from that mind shift that everything needs to happen with a greased palm in Africa, everything, then I think you start to understand that there's value beyond that in your operation.
Amazing, amazing. Do you want to carry on that, Imran? What do you look for when you are looking for a partner? You said it earlier, but I don't think we got to the nitty-gritty. What gets your attention from a locally based company that says, okay, we should be partnering with them?
So I think if you look at, in general, how the international investors are looking, and we are working with few partners who, from the Latin America to the Indian subcontinent, a lot of people who want to come in. I think one of the problems that they see is that, do we have a visibility online in terms of what exactly the services various companies are providing? A lot of times it's very difficult to reach out to right people, not even having a clear vision that, okay, what exactly we want to achieve in a particular country. And every country is different. I think it's very important for the local businesses in Africa, because see, gaming is not just the operators. It's a lot of things surrounding it, be it a marketing solutions, be it a service providing, be it the payments, and everything comes together. I think companies who really want to highlight and have an investment bankable, I would say, they need to, I think one thing which Solomon just picked up is clean books, very important, because that's a challenge we see now and then all the time. But the second one would be, they need to be very clear in terms of their USPs and propositions. It's not a good idea to say, I can do everything. It doesn't work. And that's the one problem we have seen again and again. A lot of companies just say, well, they can do everything. Come to us and I'll do everything for you in a particular country. It doesn't work. Especially if the international bigger operators who are coming, they have seen the world. They have gone around, they have launched operations in multiple countries. They know that it's not that simple. It's very important to be honest, and you say exactly what you can do. And I think people appreciate that. That's our experience. I mean, we as an international company, when we launched our platform initially, the idea was to be honest, and we started saying, I mean, we started as a front-end focused, lightweight front-end provider. That was our proposition. Nothing else, or what you do, we provide lightweight front-end. From there, we said, okay, now we're going to provide platform, but our platform is not like any other platform. We are building it for what is required by the user. Okay? So do not expect every bells and whistles, but we are building what is required. So you have to take that journey, be very clear, and we have worked with a lot of big operators across the globe, and that's what they want actually. And it's not just the operators, investors come along with that kind of same circuit. And the third thing I would mention is very important to be in the right network. See, people are coming and they want to find you, but they need references. If you are not part of a right network, don't know enough people, then it becomes very difficult to prove or reach out to right audience. I think these are the three things I would recommend any company over here should do.
That's good. I could see Solomon was going to be answering again. No, you went. I'm picking on you, Solomon. But there was a bit of wisdom dropped there about your network. Again, I'm saying it from the stage. If you are on LinkedIn and you're seeing speakers and the people here, link with them so that we can create our own networks and you don't have to go somewhere else. But that being said, Solomon, when you get tired, in Africa, it's hard to do business sometimes. It's hard, it's energy sapping. You've probably got 3 phones already and they're all going. Where do you look to, where should we aspire to be, or are we creating a new direction in Africa?
I think it starts again with regulations. If we get our regulatory framework right, every other thing will fall into place, right? Part of the challenges that I've seen operators grapple with in the continent is they work with platform service providers that are just consigned with invoicing every month. And it's a disaster. Trust me, it is. You launch an operator in month 1. In month 2, you're already threatening to shut him down because he hasn't paid his invoice. Right? So it begins with, again, fallbacks to the operator. If I'm to run a proper business in the continent, I know what to do. I know contract to sign. I know who to go to. I know what to accept. I know what to reject from day one, because my success is not built on platform. I've seen great platforms doing extremely well in Europe, Asia, and other continents on Earth, failing woefully in Africa. Many, from South Africa to Nigeria, robust platform doing extremely well in Europe, but failing flat here like a baby, right? So the success of any investor in the continent is not solely on platforms. So you get a platform provider that will not allow you breathe, kick him out the next day. It's not worth being a partner. It's not worth collaborating with.
That's quite scary on there. You were saying very true. Carry on there.
So we're talking here about how we operate in Africa, the relationships, the trust that we need to develop. And when we carry on from what Imran said is, when you do business and when you have those people around, you know who you can trust. You know you could put a dime to, who's gonna be there for you in the next year, 2, 3, 4, because like you said, it might be exciting, but Africa is definitely not a walk in the park. And you need to have the same grit in your belief than what we have living in Africa.
That's what Solomon keeps saying. You've got your strategy, stick to it. So I'm going to ask you again, just a slightly different, same question I asked Solomon. If we have something to aspire to, who is the benchmark that you think Africa or African companies or companies should be looking at? Or do you think that that's irrelevant and we should just work on our own?
I believe that we haven't even scratched the surface. We are developing at such a big rate, like having a look right now at who those figures are that we look up to. I promise you, you're going to miss the gold that's in the streets. There's so much more and so much more to develop and so much further to go without getting stuck on trying to copy and paste.
Brilliant. So guys, you've been listening to me for about 45 minutes. I'm going to give each of you a chance to ask each of you a question, and we'll see where that comes from. So Imran, I'm going to ask you to ask Big Solomon a question on the end, and then Cameron, you can ask Imran, and then you can ask whoever you like, because you are my favorite person at the moment. So we'll start with you, Imran. Go and ask the big guy a question.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'll start with Solomon. I think I can understand, and you started from the Nigerian point of view, and it's a different market.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah,
They want to hear.
absolutely. Big market over there. But if I look at that from the rest of the Africa point of view, it's still, I would say, mobile money is heavy in rest of the Africa, and you have more matured market, I would say, in Nigeria. How do you see the success of a Nigerian market can be replicated by a lot of other countries who are, how do you see the success of gaming operators in Nigeria, how they have done it, in the other countries who can learn from how the Nigerian market has grown, evolved over the period of time?
Great question.
I think you said it from your opening speech. Nigeria is still doing well on offline retail side. So I don't think Nigeria is the proper market for this kind of question, in my opinion. Because again, not especially the tier 1 international bookies, they do not want to do retail. Right? But surprisingly though, many of them have succeeded in the country. I mean, I don't want to mention them for obvious reasons. That is in my police looking at me there. But many tier 1 operators have succeeded doing just online in Nigeria. So retail is not a requirement for success in the country. I think that is clear now, right? I have about 6, 7 operators doing extremely excellently well in Nigeria, doing just online, and they are fine, right? You can't mention top 3 leading operators in the country without picking 1, 2 from businesses that are strictly online-centric. So the market that is closer to Nigeria in terms of how it is generally is Ghana. But Ghana is more of lottery. They have a very big lottery market. So, but we are talking about sports betting here. But again, like I said earlier, Nigeria is still retail-centric. Yes, the online business is huge, it's growing, it's evolving. But, I mean, take for instance, the top 2 national leading operators in the country, they are retail-based, right? They have over 5,000 agent shops. So if you want to replicate that into countries where they are not too strong with retail, you may not succeed. And the retail operation is extremely difficult to run. So I would recommend operator to go by company-owned game centers. I think that is the only thing that can rival retail agency network. Company-owned game centers is the only thing that can rival agency network. Yep.
Excellent. What's your question for Imran?
Sure. So Imran, you've been around for quite some time in this industry, and you've built up a formidable reputation and somebody that's a real go-to guy. So that comes with insight and knowledge for what is lying ahead in the future. I want to know what excites you the most. What is the top thing that excites you in the current developments that you do?
Right. That's, again, thanks. A very good question. And exactly, I mean, it took me some time when we started here, and exactly, like, you have to get into. We started country by country. Again, a lot of people say, I want to go to Africa. It doesn't work like that. You have to be like, okay, which country? What are your strengths? Why you want to go there? It has to some sense. But over the period of time, I think we have focused on country by country. Now we're almost 12 countries where we do it. Business one other way, and at the same time, the evolution. I think a lot of people still think Africa is heavy on maybe the feature phones. It's not the case anymore. It's all smartphones. But then when you have a smartphone, what exactly you're offering your customer more? So when you go down that route and you see, I think we see, I call it the current generation, the way the users have changed their usage of the pattern. Mobile phone, I would say. I call them swipe, swipe, click, click generation. And I would say when we think that, the young generation or new generation is different and we might be different, it's not the case. We were used to go maybe 10 or 20th page of Google at some point. Do you even go to the second page now? No. You expect the first result to be the right one. It's exactly the same point. It's not about how old or young your audience is. We like things which are much more easy. And you want to be better and better at offering your customer right products. I think that focus in conveying that to the operators or suppliers, people then start appreciating and understand the context, and that's how you become successful, I would say.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you very much, gents. I think our time is up. I think it's time for us to head off the stage, and I've just got a confession. Every question was off the cuff because I dropped my phone and lost my question. So just an honor to the panel for knowing their stuff. Thank you for rolling with it, and thank you for going with it, and thank you for being on twice. Have a lekker day.